Hello. About to say something that most other so-called African spiritualists on YouTube would not say at the start of a video, but I'm going to be probably the first one I've ever seen to say it, and I think this should become a normal thing. First of all, I'm going to give thanks and call out to Ile Baalat, who is the master of the gates between the Oran and the Aye, between the spirit realm and the physical realm. I owe him a lot. He has done a lot for me, and I can testify on him probably more than a lot of other people would testify on their prophets or deities. Eshu. I've said his name 3 times, and even though I understand it's risky to call him into this, because when you invoke him, you are not invoking him, you are sort of like just opening your awareness to him, because he is everywhere. He's in every corner, every doorway, every gateway. At the opening of your eyes, the opening of your nose, the opening of your mouth, he can open and close anything, every pore on yourself. And he is that force of nature, opens, closes, guides the borders of everything, borders and boundaries. And he is also the arbiter of a lie and the truth, along with his partner in nature, Ogun. And on Ogun, while I wear stainless steel and iron on my hands, and I have a couple of these necklaces, the stainless steel and iron on my neck, okay? I swear to you, and I promise you that everything I'm about to say in this video is true. It is the truth. It is the historical, the scientific truth, the stuff that actually happened, stuff that actually is. Okay? Not something I imagined, not something someone just told me and I just believe. Things that I have read on, things that I have researched, and things that I don't believe, things that I know to be facts, things that I have observed with my own eyes. Okay? So before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about my education. I got magic from family, from friends. As I grew up, I grew up in this. There was nothing else for me to be except spiritual. And I had fights with my family over this. I sacrificed a lot as a child. And let me tell you, my childhood was not great. And were it not for the African deities, I know I would be a monster today, because I had a lot of monstrosity around me growing up. But it's because of Eshu, because of Ogun, because of Oshun, because of Shango, because of my Orishas, that I did not become a monster. And maybe it's time to also let y'all in a little more. I try to kind of not go too far into this, because we don't talk about these things much, but I owe a lot to the nature as well. And I owe a lot to many deities across the pantheons of my ancestry. I owe a lot to Turtle Mama. I owe a lot to Possum Mama. I owe a lot to Raccoon Mama. I owe a lot to God Mama. Okay? I owe a lot to Octopus Mama. Okay, I um, have a varied background and I've been through a lot of struggles. Okay, and that's one aspect of my education is having come through the fire. Another aspect of my education is that I was always curious. And my parents, we've had our differences, especially when it comes to spirituality. Um, but my parents encouraged me to read. My parents never forbade me a book. They told me read everything and judge for yourself what you want to take in and what you don't. I learned from a lot of reading that not all books are of equal value. Not all, everything that's written in text is necessarily true. People will lie to you. People will mislead you. So this is why there is something called peer review, where people in the same field will critique your work and where academics will talk about things and debate. I learned to read a study. I learned to read the scientific jargon from a few different fields, okay? I read a lot, okay? Um, and what I'm about to talk about today, the subject of this post, um, it's about what African spirituality has to do with the LGBTQ issue. Okay, now I thought I made myself very clear. I wrote my two articles. I wrote my article on what the position was of African spirituality, you know, which is not our business. That's between you and your deities, your family, and your life or whatever. Okay, our official position is not our business. And we have many people in the African spiritual community, especially in the diaspora, who are out and in the LGBTQ community. As a matter of fact, because of what goes on in the Americas and that a lot of indigenous nations either didn't care, or their life wasn't so strictly gendered because of, you know, survival. You couldn't be nitpicking. If somebody was strong enough to do something, they did it. If they were a capable warrior, they were a warrior. And what Westerners, what Europeans call masculinity and femininity didn't quite factor in so much until European invasion. Okay, after the invasion, after colonialism, a lot of this stuff became relevant, and now we have these terms, man, woman, that means something in their sphere that isn't quite what it meant in our sphere. The division of different duties and roles was different across different cultures, okay? But I want to talk particularly about why this is such a big deal. I mean, everybody who is competent should know the history already, which was before colonialism, it was not generally an issue. It was a specific thing to your family or your tribe or whatever. But most people just had other bigger fish to fry. Nobody was worried about what another grown person was doing with their genitals. Okay. Now, when it came to slavery and non-consensual behavior, there was a lot of stuff that was made okay in the old days that would not be okay today in terms of human rights. Okay, any kind of non-consensual anything is just, it's just wrong, and this is why we fight against that sort of thing. So consenting, you know, that's that's okay. Whatever people are grown and consenting to, that's their business. We have issues of non-consensual behavior. We have issues of human trafficking. We have issues of de facto slavery. We have issues of coercion. This is where we need to be focusing our anger and our energy on. So one has to ask, with so much real perversion and real non-consensual and real dank, nasty stuff going on in the world, why are people so worried about gays? And I have an answer, okay? It's gonna be a little deep. I'm 10 minutes in already, but y'all just be patient and bear with me. I will try to make this concise as possible and give you some names and give you some literature to look over, okay? But in short, it's a Nazi thing. Let's just make it clear. It is a Nazi thing to be worried about gays. It is a Nazi thing to be hating on LGBTQ people. There is no getting around it. It is just a Nazi thing. But let me tell you how it crept in, and let me tell you how it creeps into African spirituality. Okay? It creeps into African spirituality, unfortunately, mostly through the diaspora. A lot of these diaspora writers have one foot in Africa and one foot in the colonial mind. A lot of them grew up Christians or were exposed to a lot of Christian dogma, and it's like they took on a lot of those the sexual insecurity and perversion and stuff like that. And you know, there's also this thing of, since their view of gender and their view of sexuality in that very Eurocentric white supremacist context, you know, the white supremacy requires breeders. It requires that people sacrifice their humanity for the race, or basically the state. Okay, whoever is the leader, you are supposed to devote yourself entirely to their ideology and entirely to them, and your genitals are supposed to serve white supremacy. And it doesn't, and in order to serve white supremacy, what is the role of the average man and woman under white supremacy? That is to breed either more white people for white folks who identify as white, okay, instead of European from whatever nation they're from. They sacrifice their their identity and their nationality for this generic multicult called white, okay, which even the leaders of that don't even believe, because they believe in eugenics. You can't be really both a racial supremacist and a eugenicist, really. Within the group that you draw your Cinderellas from, they're going to be the princes, and then they're going to be the Cinderellas that they pluck out of the masses, you know, who rise, the cream that rises to the top. And then there's going to be the ugly stepsisters. Okay? Most people who are running around calling themselves white, who actually believe in white supremacy, are the ugly stepsisters. Okay? The eugenicist believes in a sort of intellectual and bloodline through, you know, like hereditary fineness thinking. They're choosing people based on specific traits, and just paleness is not it. Okay, they have a lot of other factors, and they even discuss in their own books on eugenics how to improve people. Look at Perkins' feminism, Gilman Perkins' feminism and eugenics. Her style of feminism is not maternal feminism or really even general feminism. It's specifically white supremacist feminism that is made to build a better incubator for a sort of a super race from which they can pluck the more Cinderellas. They'll have a wider variety of Cinderellas, and they will, develop like the cream, and the rest will be just workers. Like I said, in every racial utopia, somebody still has to clean the toilets. And if it's not brown people, it's going to be the lesser brothers, the lesser white people. Okay? So they're, even in their racism, they don't really have loyalty to the race. Okay? The top people puppeteering the masses of white supremacists are eugenicists. And they don't have much to do with the general masses except maybe to use them. They're not going to marry them. They're not going to give them any money. You notice being white doesn't really do anything for anybody. They're still poor. Okay? They're still poor, and they're still taking away their education. They're still taking away their freedom. Okay? I heard in Tennessee, it's not a whole lot of, I mean, there are black folks in Tennessee, but they're enslaving them to a point where you can't even dress up. If you're a man, you can't dress in women's clothes. If you're a woman, you can't dress in men's clothes. A woman can get arrested for wearing coveralls if these people pass these stupid laws in Tennessee. So that means you will have white women wearing coveralls getting beat up by the police for wearing men's clothes, dressing in male drag. It's silly, and yet we have these people in the African spiritualist community, okay, who share this demographic panic with white people who need breeders, these white supremacists who need breeders. African Americans, some of them, because they don't know where they stand really, whether they're with nature or whether they're with white supremacy, they still haven't unpacked their own internalized racism and white supremacy. So they're easily vulnerable to these viral messages, okay, that come out of white supremacy and the ideologies that the puppet masters of white supremacists use to enslave the minds of their masses. Now, the best way to manipulate someone is through their ego. You flatter them. You tell them, yes, you are. You stroke their self-pity. You say, oh, you poor thing. You've been treated unjustly. Sometimes it's true. They have been treated unjustly. Sometimes unfair things have happened to them, and then they're given a target to blame. Some of them, it's a real popular thing in the manosphere to blame women, okay? The women have the sexual trade union and they're depriving men of sex, And for some people, for white supremacists, they're going to blame everybody else brown, okay? And for the brown people whose minds they want to enslave to keep them workers or to keep them from being a threat, they hit their persecution complex too. And they hit their ego too when they say yes, yes, yes. And then, but the truth is that your being black makes you superior. Well, okay, the idea of superiority is kind of worthless in nature. Okay, your behavior, what you do, how effective you are, is the thing that matters, whether you're effective or not whether you're superior or not. But, you got to tell them something to enslave them by their ego, okay? Now, where a lot of this stuff came from, okay, is Helena Blavatsky, the founder of this new religious movement she lived in the late 1800s, and it was called Theosophy. Okay, now Theosophy permeated so many things. It's like every new cult that has come up ever since has stolen a little bit from Theosophy. Okay, Hitler took the theosophy and the Aryan theory that she came up with from the secret doctrine and a bit of the spirituality from Isis Unveiled, and him and Himmler made up this whole ideology around the Aryans being the superior race or the root race of white people and the newest evolution and the latest evolution, okay? So when you hear black people start talking about this, uh, they're saying stuff like white people are mutants, but then they're drawing from the mythology of Aryan theory to say that, okay? They're not looking at the actual science that, okay, there was in Western Europe, there was a person with a gene that got really popular. No, they're not looking at that. They're looking at this mythology of Yakub inventing white people in a lab or something, you know. And that stuff is stolen straight from theosophy. These underground people, these alien conspiracy theories, the whole thing comes from theosophy, Helena Blavatsky, okay? Now, a lot of that stuff has polluted the spiritual community since the 1800s. Remember, this is a very old thing. And a lot of this mythology also covered Egypt and ideas about ancient Kemet, okay? Um, you know, they had all this mythology around Kemet, and they use some of that today to talk about the superiority of Africans. And yes, the humanity that is alive today is Homo sapiens, and Homo sapiens originated in Eastern Africa. Everybody knows this, okay? But what does it mean? Okay, this is the question. What does it mean? Does it make you any more or less mortal than anyone else? Does it change the power dynamic? And see, this is the thing. When something doesn't change the power dynamic, but they are selling it to you as an ideology, it might be a distraction, okay? So here we get to, you know, homophobia. How does that get into the thing? Well, it gets into it because the white supremacist mentality cannot share attention. The white supremacist woman cannot share attention with gay men or black women, so they use the exact same arguments against gays that they use against intercultural or interethnic or interracial marriage. Okay, the exact same arguments. Oh, well, today they'll be marrying black folks, and tomorrow people will want to marry their dogs, and this will lead to, it's practically bestiality already, and it will lead to bestiality in the future. It's the same. It's like this exact same arguments that they're using now against the LGBTQ people, they were using against black people 30 years ago. The same arguments, okay? These people are maybe at the most 10% of the world population, okay? They ain't threatening anybody, and in a lot of these places, where there's supposedly a threat, there's supposedly some gay agenda to take over the world. Gay agenda is another white supremacist dog whistle, okay? You let those words fall out of your mouth, and a colonist knows that, yeah, you're still colonized. We got you, okay? So these people are under attack in most of the states, and they've been under attack in other parts of the world. The homophobia is rampant. Why? Because white supremacy cannot have competition. Okay? The breeders have to be forced to breed. So they got to force everybody to accept these norms so that they get to still make more babies, more white people, more slaves, whatever, okay? And they are panicked when they hear about homosexuality, the idea of it, or really the idea of any kind of sex that isn't serving white supremacy or isn't serving their agenda, okay? Isn't serving their state or their ideology. It's panicking them. They get worried of dying out if everybody turns gay. Now, I don't know if you have tried to change your orientation, but I encourage you, all of you who believe that somebody can go gay, okay, try it. Try it for a month. Do an experiment. Go gay. Make yourself be homosexual for a month and then come back and be straight again. Okay? Change what makes you wet or what makes your genitals move. Okay? Change that for a month, and then after that month, change it back. Okay? Oh, you can't? Well, why not? You're afraid people will go gay. You're afraid people will be programmed to be gay. Try it. Try it. Okay? That's my challenge. You can't. Somebody's orientation is whatever it is. Whatever turns them on is what turns them on. And be thankful it's with a consenting adult. Okay? That's the thing to be thankful for, that they're not raping anyone. Okay? Because homosexuality is not a problem. Rape is a problem. Okay? So if you want to be mad about something sexual, be mad about rape. Be mad about non-consensual behavior. Be mad about human trafficking. Okay? Be mad about that. Don't be mad at consenting adults for doing what consenting adults do. Okay? And please, don't take that colonial Christian, white supremacist, and I'm sorry, Christians, I know there are some Christians out there who are not into this stuff. I'm talking about Eurocentric, specifically about Eurocentric white supremacist Christians, okay? That kind of Christianity is unbiblical, first of all, okay? And second of all, it's just brainwashing. It's just brainwashing to get people to conform to these colonial values. It's just to serve colonialism. And when we take on aspects of that, it makes us look like suckers. It makes us look like fools. And when we do that and we speak that, some people, man, y'all speak that stuff in public. Really? You just might as well tell white supremacists, I'm not a threat. I am no threat whatsoever to white supremacy. I am a threat to white supremacy because I don't accept any of their gender roles. I don't accept any of their cultural imposition. Okay, I am me. I am just me. And whatever they want to label me as, whatever pronouns they want to, not my business. That's them. I don't have any interest in thought policing them. I only worry about myself. And that's it. Okay? Now, this creeps into African spirituality through colonized African Americans and colonized Africans who are, some of them were Christian and they're still in recovery, and they think that because this thing resonates with them that it's truth, but there's no evidence whatsoever that Africans before contact with Europeans really even had anything to say about that. There was nothing to say about it. And the one translation that they have that might say that it was not a good idea to have any relationships with boys, they were talking about non-consensual relations. Okay? You shouldn't exploit young people. That's what they were saying. So, it's like if you understand the history and you understand what's going on, you see clearly that homophobia is an aspect of white supremacy. Nobody else really engaged in hating on people just because of who they wanted to shag, except colonists. Okay? They were the ones who made it a sin. They were the ones who made it a crime. And for some reason, too many African nations are keeping it a crime. And we know how this works. It works like a witch hunt, just like the most of the witches who got hung and burned during the witch hunts and stuff weren't actually witches at all. Most people who get arrested for being gay did not get caught actually doing anything. They just got accused. And as long as these laws are on the books, somebody could accuse anybody. And if the police ever got it into their heads to census on the books, it's an easy way to get rid of political opponents by accusing them of being gay. Okay, so, and it's a good way to damage somebody's reputation is by accusing them of being gay. So it's like people need to wake up. Okay? Now, like I said, I did that promise at the beginning, so y'all know I am being straight with you. Well, straight. I'm being truthful, okay? I will swear by anything that I'm saying. I will show you the books are The Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky, ISIS Unveiled by Helena Blavatsky. If you read those two books, you will understand what this white supremacy deal is. You will get an idea of their ideology, and you will see how twisted and messed up it is, how they misinterpret Eastern philosophy, and how they misinterpret Kemetic science. They misinterpreted so much, and they made a religion out of it. And they're still making money off the same grift. And unfortunately, too many people in our community are still falling for it. So please, I beg you, until you learn more, at least just shut up about it, okay? Look, I trust nature, okay? I trust nature, and I trust my Orishas. And I understand that if you do the research for yourself, if you go out and you learn, you will know the same things that I do. And you will understand the context the same way that I do. When you see how the Nazis went after gays, you will understand how they're recycling that same stuff today. Okay? When you understand it, it really doesn't matter what you think about homosexuality itself. You should be thinking about the political situation and what you are promoting, because these people are out here shooting people. Okay? Every once in a while in the States, somebody will go into a gay club and shoot a bunch of people. Okay? People are getting murdered out here. People are dying. Is it so important that you signal your straightness by condemning gays that it's worth their blood? How many people dying is it worth for you to flex online? How many dead people? How many bloody bodies shot up on the ground is it worth to you to flex online? I don't like homosexuals, they're wrong, or that's an abomination. How many people need to die for that? For you to feel more sexually secure? Because when I know the number, then I will have something to work with here. If it's not worth anybody dying for you to flex, then leave it alone until you have the knowledge. Okay? Because not only are you being a sucker, you're being an ignorant sucker. Okay? You're showing your ignorance. You're showing your conformity to these white supremacist religions. You're showing your conformity to these white supremacist cultural memes. Okay? Just paint a target on your head because you're a sucker. Okay? Now, I don't believe that all of y'all really have bad intentions. Okay? But intentions don't matter when it's dead people. Your intentions are meaningless when bodies are on the ground. Okay? So you need to ask yourself when you're out there condemning LGBTQ people, is their blood worth your flex? Is their blood worth your stating your opinion? Is it? Answer that question before you speak next time.